Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, Umber Rays, where today we're going to be taking a somewhat quick look at a unit. I should talk just a little bit. Recently, I've been incredibly busy doing just some stuff, so much so that I haven't really had a lot of time to do a ton of videos recently. Life's been a little bit busy and, kind of just working here is, since, it's not exactly my primary job, it is a little bit difficult sometimes to get all the time I need to do any video recordings, and so yeah, it's a little difficult. And I should also make mention that videos will be a little bit interrupted in about the beginning of April, because I will be heading back to Canada for a bit, which means that live streams as well as YouTube uploads will be a little difficult to say when they will be happening. Just because I'm going back to see my family, and that'll be, a fair amount of time. So I'll try and do some videos from Canada, but for the most part, it's not a super high priority for me. So just so you know. But today we're here to talk about a favorite character of mine, and she's not even on screen yet, even though she's in the title card, so it's not that much of a surprise. Today we're going to talk about Nagi. Nagi's enhancements came a little while ago, and she is a character that I absolutely love, so I've been wanting to do this video for a bit. Just quite haven't had the time and some days energy, because, you have those days. But yeah, let's talk about Nagi. Now, Nagi is a member of the Order, one of the bad guy groups from Season 2, basically. Well, I say that even though I feel kind of weird talking about the Order. The Order never felt like the Veritas did. The Veritas kind of felt like a real present and kind of danger to them. They felt really cool, they had great designs and everything. And the Order has kind of been mixed, especially for me. I haven't never found a lot of the Order's designs to be that fantastic. But hey, art is subjective, so there you go. But let's talk about Nagi, because Nagi is the type of character that I do like a lot. First of all, I like her design, I like her sprite, I like her animations. I've done a review on her in the past, which I really liked her back then, and I used her for quite a long time. But the DPS race is kind of difficult to be behind, and Nagi was the last of a dying breed of chaining. And when I say dying, I mean the fact that, well, basically, her Holy Explosion and AR chaining are two chain families that have not been well supported in Japan recently. Holy Explosion or Divine Ruination was the biggest form of chaining for a while before AT chaining came along and kind of kicked it out. And now we're seeing Stardust Ray take over. Who knows, maybe one day we'll see AR chaining make a big return. But in the meantime, yeah, I just gotta show off Nagi's like sprite, her limit burst. It is so cool. It also is like very cool for, well, it's very like relevant right now, it feels like, just because Sekiro is out, which is very much like a ninja game. So Nagi's a ninja, so I feel like it's a good fit. And of course, her winning animation where she takes off the hood, I like that. I like the little visual change in characters sometimes. So that's really what I like. But who is Nagi? Nagi is basically a hybrid DPS unit with a fair amount of elemental debuffing capabilities, as well as some killers in her kit too. Nagi has always been a really pretty strong DPS, but the fact that she was dual wield meant that she lost a lot of damage out to true dual hand units back at the time, kind of when she came out. And then when true dual wield happened, well, she didn't have any true dual wield in her kit, which hurt her too. Not to mention that she's a true dual wield hybrid now, which is much more difficult. But at least true dual wield supports hybrids better, I feel like. Don't quote me on that. So first of all, the abilities that can enhance, first of all, are her two hybrid chaining abilities. One light, one dark. Increasing this one twice takes it up to a 2000% 7-hit single target light or dark hybrid attack. I'm showing the light one right now, but here's the dark one too. So it's about 1,000% for each physical and magical, combined together to be 2,000. But the big thing now is its debuff capability. It has 120% dark resistance or light resistance debuff for 5 turns on a single target. That's quite good. That's very good. It makes for a very powerful unit that has incredibly strong debuffs. Elemental debuffs right now are basically 120% or pretty mediocre. So her having just elemental attacks that also just debuff for that much, very good. But what else does she get? Well, next let's talk about her debuff or her cooldown ability, which is a debuff ability and a self-buff ability. This cooldown I've always liked. It is a self 3-turn plus 250% now. It used to be about, I think, 200%. And now it's 250% attack and magic increase to her, so that's quite good. It's balancing her stats nicely. AoE 3-turn debuff for ice, wind, light, and dark, 100%. So she can be a support in terms of debuffing quite a few different elements too, which is interesting, the wind one, just because she doesn't really have any wind-based attacks, so okay. She also gets a self 3-turn plus 50% physical damage versus humans, and a self 50% damage versus magic damage versus humans. So she gets both physical and magic killers by activating this ability. Unfortunately, the cooldown wasn't exactly fixed. It's available turn 1, but it's on a 5-turn cooldown, which, given that the buff only lasts for about 3 turns, I wish it was a little bit shorter. I think it could have been dropped down to a 4-turn and would have been fine. It would have kept her more on the up, as opposed to a lot of the other, a lot of the characters, like I'm thinking about CG, Rain now, just have such high up times on the things that make them really good. Having triple cast all the time, or just like limit bursts every 2 turns. Here, Nagi just doesn't have as much uptime, unfortunately, with her cooldown ability. Looking at her AR chaining, it is dark AR chaining, and while I love AR chaining so much, this one is a hard one to pair with, because there really isn't at least on the JP side, a really good, reliable source of, dark AR chaining. And yes, I know you can use, like, Axstar. Just using Axstar along with, Primrose, but that's not exactly the greatest way to do something. If you have to do 3 units to what basically 2 units can do, and a lot of times that's more important, because there is no mid-level content here. It's all extreme level content, and that can be difficult when you're trying to, pair off and use other abilities when you should be just fighting the enemy. But Nagi just has some really good stuff that kind of makes up for her lack of triple casting, which is the amount of killers in her kit. She has natural, demon, human, and undead, and now she just goes up in that. Now it goes up to 75% physical/magical killers versus those. Demon and human show up fairly often in Brave Exvius, so it's a good bet that they are useful killers, to say the least. And the last one is probably, and she gets 30% magic on that, mainly because her 20% magic becomes a 30% magic, which becomes a dual wield chain damage cap increase. This is the thing I wanted the most for Nagi. This is where any, dual wield unit right now, this is where they really kind of, it's this ability or bust, it feels a lot of the times. This is just a powerful power-up chaining move. It's great for true dual wield. So the only thing I would say, just taking a look at my Nagi really quickly, is I've enhanced her HP a fair bit, and she's still a little low. MP is fine. She can get very nice magic and attack. Her defense and spirit is not what I would call the greatest thing, but it's okay. I've definitely seen much lower amounts on other units, so comparison-wise. So let's go in and show her off. And normally I would be in position already, but no time. Gotta figure out how to make homemade pizza sauce. That'll be fun. But yeah, here we are. Let's just get into this, and we're gonna put just the dark element here using Primrose, and we're just gonna put it on these two characters. And the reason is because I want to show off just the different types of chaining. So we're going to use this ability and see what her stats get up to. I'm also not worried about buffing either of these characters. And for anybody who's wondering, this is Axstar stats. Axstar. Anyway, pretty good, but really just has basically nothing equipped and no killers. And then Warrior of Light is definitely a strong defense, which will make for a good attack here, but it's nothing that should be... Most of the damage should be coming directly from Nagi, who also has Diablos here, because extra Diablos means extra human killer. So now we're just going to do... This is one of the things that probably interested me the most. In terms of synergy-wise, Nagi doesn't really have any good Holy Explosion chainer partners right now. So I was curious, who could I get to possibly chain with her? I had to think about it, and I realized that Warrior of Light, being a brand new tank that was based on defense, would be a really good fit for Nagi because, you know, a tank is always necessary, and you can potentially get the two in here and doing damage, but let's show off how much it does. Plus, they actually complement each other pretty nice since both can do the Holy debuff. Not bad for basically a tank and 1 DPS. Again, killers are going to make the big difference here. Nagi, I would not bring her into a fight in any fight that doesn't just require you to do a lot of that isn't one of her killers. I think that's really where she's going to excel. And that's not to say that by any means her kit is bad, I just don't think it's really going to do that much otherwise. So we're not going to use Axstar quite yet. We're just going to get a little bit of a debuff going. Oh yeah, I think I forgot to show off her... I wanted to show off her improved stats. Or wait, I believe her... Did her buff wear off already? No, it should still be on. I have been able to get a much higher build, but since a lot of my equipment is just elsewhere right now and not having her own Super TMR, her own Super TMR would go away to pushing her much higher stats than I currently have her. But this is a fairly good Nagi build, but definitely room for improvement. And now we're just going to show off her AR chaining because, again, big fan of AR chaining. Plus we have the darkness going here. Yeah, I love that drop right in the middle there. Pretty good amount for AR chaining. Let's try it again, but with, you know, just changing a couple of things. Again, the other thing is, if my equipment was a little more freed up right now, I could potentially throw on a few other things to make her better in some aspects, but yeah. Alright, so let's just get in there and do that. This time we'll just darkness here. Yeah, there's the correct buffs. They did wear off. I thought there was something weird about that. It didn't seem quite right. So yeah, that's better to what her stats actually can be. And with her own Super TMR, of course, you'll be able to push her much higher, especially with Carlet's Super TMR. So all of that's pretty nice. You know what? We'll take one more turn since we have that luxury. We can also show off a little bit of what her damage is without anybody chaining. That's pretty high. Again, I would say that the strength of Nagi is really just in her killers. She has a huge amount of killers that are accessible to her, which can make her just very strong in certain fights. Pretty decent chain, but a few drops in there. Still, for AR chaining, that's pretty damn high. So yeah, Nagi is like still one of my favorite units, and the idea of building her to just have a lot of killers is very possible for very specific types. There are a lot of super TMRs that have killers, or, you know, TMRs that have killers, or equipment that has killers sometimes that you can use to fit onto Nagi. Specifically, I'm thinking of some of the stuff that I currently have on CG Rain here, who CG Rain has my physical human killer right now, and I also have a magical killer, which I do believe is on... yeah, Chocobo Fina. So in theory, you could stack even more killers on her and potentially just go absolutely apeshit, especially against a human. That might be something that I really want to try in the near future here. Nagi doesn't exactly feel like she has a ton of survivability. She still feels like an old unit that has been given a lot more power just DPS-wise. She isn't as glass cannon-y as some other high DPS units on the JB side, but I'm not going to lie, she's still one of my favorites. I'm still figuring out ways to use her, and more than anything, did I have a whip equipped to her? I don't think I did. This fist is definitely one of the things I'm using, though. But yeah, I still really love her. I think that her killers are probably, with the new chain damage cap max out, or just really is what takes her even further. So yeah, love the unit, love her enhancements, think they're really good and worth it, and hopefully some people on the global side will get her and share in the fun. Anyway, you guys, that is all for now, and I will see you guys all next time for another video. See you then.